This is the 22nd season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. It is still post-classic week. It's finally catching up to me. And I think our guest too, I saw him about 9 different times over about a 1.5 mile stretch at the Bassmaster Classic this past week, where he was moving and shaking, getting things done. But I was actually, Frank and I were at the Pradco booth, the LureNet booth, and I catch a blur out of the corner of my eye walking past, and he stops, and it's Billy Egan, tournament director from WONBASS, who, I have a soft spot for the U.S. Open, WONBASS, all the stuff that they do, Mark Jeffries, Dave Rush, Dano, a bunch of guys for, heck, I think that even goes back to 10 years now. 9 years ago, used to do all the live stuff from the U.S. Open on Lake Mead. Fish the U.S. Open on Lake Mead, have that trophy back there from the AAA division. Talk a lot about what's going on at the West Coast. And Billy said, "Hey, did you hear?" And I said, "I've heard a lot of things. Depends on what you're asking about." He goes, "The U.S. Open, after a really good run at Lake Mojave." It had been at Lake Mead since its inception, and then went to Mojave because of low water levels. He goes, "It's back on Mead in 26." And I said, "What are you doing Wednesday morning at 6:30 Pacific time?" And he kind of looked at me, and, you get like Kent Brown, you get some of the West Coast guys on. So I really appreciate when they get up at the crack of dawn on the West Coast to talk about it. But this is big news. And we'll bring Billy in right now. Billy Egan, thanks for jumping on BTL super early on the West Coast to talk about the U.S. Open's triumphant return to mystical, historic Lake Mead in 2026.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. How are you, Matt?
I'm good. Have you recovered from the Classic yet?
I got, we had a couple flight delays on the way back on Monday, but ended up getting home, I think around 11 o'clock my time. And by the time I unpacked, I realized it was 4 a.m. Tennessee time. So yesterday was a little, I did some work, but I did some rest as well. But yeah, I'm caught up and, up early this morning, ready to get on the show with you guys and talk U.S. Open.
Yeah, just kind of briefly run through the history of it. Historic Lake Mead, the Rick Cluns, the Byron Velvics, the Clifford Perches, the Bubs, all of the Salvucci. I mean, it's just a list of names that have become synonymous with it, and it was kind of your hand was forced by Mother Nature and the location of the fisheries to move it to Mojave, where it really had and has had a nice home for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. Obviously Lake Mead has had some fluctuations with the water recently, and Lake Mead is the home of the U.S. Open, and Mojave was a great place to go for an alternative. It's got amazing smallmouth. It's a great fishery. It's got good facilities. Laughlin and all the casinos there embrace the U.S. Open, and some really good weights were brought in for the previous U.S. Open. But looking at the history of the U.S. Open and everything going on in bass fishing these days, and unfortunately all the negative stuff that's going on with forward-facing sonar and all that stuff, and we looked at the opportunity because recently Lake Mead came up 15 feet, and they've been working on improvements at Colville and at Hemingway to extend the ramps with projected lower water levels. And, the argument for low water kind of went out the window. And, we decided that, if there's a chance to go back to Mead, we're gonna take it when it comes. And right now, it was kind of season, kind of, not an easy decision to be made when you've already put out a schedule and people have already made plans or maybe taken vacation days and made reservations. But the U.S. Open and the importance of it being at Mead whenever possible overweighed any of that. And we believe that any change we made to go back to Mead would be uh, accepted by the masses because, like Rick Clunn says, Lake Mead is the great equalizer. It is the fairest level playing field there is in the nation. And we decided that it was time with our partnerships with Bass Pro Shops, Range Boats, Mercury Motors, that we take advantage of the opportunity to get back out at Lake Mead, to give a large majority of the anglers what they wanted, the opportunity to get back to Mead. And we made that decision. We also looked at the schedules a lot. Obviously, when you put out a schedule and everybody else has got their schedules out already, whether it's the tournament circuits here in the West or MLF or Bass, because obviously we have a lot of big name pros that like to come out to the U.S. Open. And when you talk Mead, everybody's ears perks up. And it was kind of exciting to go to the Bassmaster Classic, knowing that we were going to make that change at the Classic, knowing that I was going to be seeing Rick Clunn and Byron Velvick and Murray and all the guys that have fished it for so many years. And, those three right there won 2 each. That's 6 titles right there. And I was going to show you something real quick, Matt, if I can see it. See it over there in the corner?
That's the Lake Mead U.S. Open wall.
That's a perpetual trophy over there in the corner. It's got everybody's name on it. I get to keep it at the house.
Wow.
I want to make sure that was protected and safe. So I've got it in my house. I get to display it here. And we're looking to put a name on it this year. And it's going to be Lake Mead. We put a 200 boat cap on it this year because of the low water. We wanted to make sure it's a manageable tournament, build a little urgency, if you will, for entry, everybody getting involved. But I walked around and I saw you, and it was, have you heard yet? Because the fishing industry, I mean, you tell one person and soon everybody knows. And just before kind of releasing the information, I was getting text messages and phone calls. Is it true? Is it true? And I said, just stay tuned, stay tuned. But yeah, it is back at Lake Mead, and we've worked with Sunset Station and Boulder Station. They're going to be the host hotels for it. We're working with Bass Pro Shops and all the guys there to hopefully have our Hall of Fame, our sponsor showcase, and the meeting at the Bass Pro Shops in Las Vegas, and utilize our partnership to get the biggest bang for our buck as we can for the event. And everybody's coming out of the woodwork right now to sign up for this event. Rick Clunn says he's coming, Byron Velvick, John Murray, Matt Becker. I walked up to Matt Becker and I said, guess what? He's like, what? I said, we're going back to Mead. He goes, I'll see you there. I'm like, seriously? That's all I had to say? He's like, yep. As soon as went back to Mead, I have to be there. And Clifford, I'm like, hey, I got some good news for you. And he goes, we're going back to Mead. And I'm like, how'd you know? He goes, I didn't, but that was the best news I would ever hear. So I took a guess. He was right, so a lot of positive stuff on from everybody there at the show and online, excitement. So we're really excited to be going back there.
Yeah, you said a little bit of a day change, so it is October 9th through 11th. So then the one that I went to is the Boulder Station, Sunset Station, the one where they like rope off the top level of the parking garage, and then you like snake through, and then you get to the top level and you're staying in the casino, and you get out and there's 100 boats on the top level of this parking structure, like all parked. And that's that place?
Yeah, Boulder Station and Sunset Station have parking structures, and on the fifth floor, originally when they built those, they put power outlets on the fifth floor for bass tournaments.
Oh,
So Boulder Stations, yeah, basically Sunset Station was the first one to do it, and then we moved over to Boulder Station, and then convinced them. That was my first year running tournaments. Harvey Nass handed over the 2010 U.S. Open. He said, "Hey, we're going to Boulder Station. Boulder Station's going to take care of everybody. They know what they need to do." And da, da, da. So I get out there and I'm like, "Where are they going to charge their boats, Harvey?" Well, I don't know. The hotel's taking care of that. Well, they didn't have the outlets on the fifth floor at Boulder Station. They didn't have outlets in the parking lot. We had to. Me coming from the construction industry, I went to temporary power, 4 generators and 20 spider boxes, and filled the parking lot, and then got a bill for $10,000. And I was not the boss wasn't real happy with me. And Harvey said, "Well, that's their problem." So I went to Boulder Station then and said, "Look, you guys owe us about $10,000, so you're going to do a sponsorship with us, and you're going to install outlets on the fifth floor so that you can be just like Sunset Station, or we'll go back to Sunset Station." And they did. So Boulder Station has a fifth floor available for boaters to charge their boats up there, and that just brings back so many memories. Just sitting on the parking structure with Aaron Martins from about 9 p.m. till about 12 a.m. in the morning while he's rigging rods and talking and spending time there and seeing other anglers. It's a unique aspect to the whole thing. Now, Sunset Station, unfortunately, they're coming to the table, but they've leased the fifth floor of their parking structure to a couple auto dealers, so they've got a bunch of cars parked up there. So we're working on getting a charging opportunity put up in the parking lot of Sunset Station with some security fencing and so forth for Sunset Station. But the guys can choose where they'd like to stay, whether it's Sunset or Boulder. Yeah,
mhm.
it's going to be the same feel, same mystique as always. And I think with the partnership with Bass Pro Shops and doing the registration meetings and the Hall of Fame and everything over there is going to just spice it up a bit and really bring the feel back to Lake Mead.
Yeah, there it is. I got the picture
Yes,
right back there. There's Hallman.
it was
That was
important. What's
sorry
that?
to be cut you off. I said I got the picture right back there from there's Hallman with like Bub Tosh on one side and me on the other side, and Hallman's about 19 Coors Lights deep in that picture.
Boulder Station at the Railhead Room
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
the Awards Center. Would use, yeah. But I was saying the dates were real important. We had some options, but when you start looking at the calendar and you start looking at other organizations' dates, you start running out of dates, and felt that it was important to keep it as close as possible to the original dates. So instead of a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday traditional U.S. Open format, we're going to a Friday, Saturday, Sunday in the same week, which in October you don't get a lot of you don't have a lot of the public traffic at that time, so it shouldn't be too bad. But at least the people that watch our live broadcast, we've noticed with our regular opens that we do, we switched to a Thursday, Friday, Saturday format. We're getting a lot more views on the weekend. So I think the U.S. Open on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday format's going to give a lot more people an opportunity to tune in and watch the U.S. Open from home as well.
You mentioned this, Billy. I want to pull this up for those who don't understand. Here is a basically a 5-year snapshot of the water levels on Lake Mead, and you can see right here where it kind of came up. I mean, back in 2023, you're looking at 20 feet lower than it currently is, and back in 2021, you're looking at 20 feet higher than it currently is now. For people who haven't been out to Lake Mead to understand it, the launch ramp facilities, I mean, a lot of that move to Mojave was literally because there was not a place to, like, they're like the ramps just like ended. They didn't build them long enough. They didn't expect that there was not a place. What you were mentioning, you talked about Carver Bay and things. So over the past 3 or 4 years, the people who make their living around Lake Mead, the marinas, they've actually like built extensions to the ramps that have allowed bass boats to get back on this thing, even with the historically low water levels.
Yeah, well, Lake Mead is managed by the national, not national parks, the national government, basically, NDOT. And so most of all the ramp improvements have to be approved through them and funding through them. And the marinas, Colville's a little bit different because Hemingway is owned and operated by the national parks. Colville is, if you will, a private marina. It's crazy when we've gone out there the last 2 years for our smaller opens that we do. Colville was so far pushed out there, they keep extending walkways to keep the marina out in the open water. And, when you have a launch ramp with 1.5 lanes, it's not very conducive to a 150, 200 boat tournament when you're trying to get people out of the water. But right now, Colville's got about 4.5 lanes at Colville with the higher water that recently came up, and with the improvements that they did, they just come down with, I think they're 10 foot wide by 30 foot long pieces of concrete that they put on rollers, roll it down with a tractor, and just extend it. But previously the metal grids that they would put down would end, and if you went too far with your trailer, your back tires would fall off the back side of it, and you'd get stuck unless you had a pretty good 4-wheel drive truck to pull it out. You might have some damage. But Hemingway, they did a major improvement over at Hemingway, which is the marina across from Colville, closest to Boulder City. And that is a viable opportunity for a lot of guys. And they do typically during the US Open, a lot of guys will launch over there and come to Colville for the launch and grab their AAAs ready. But Colville is excited to have us back. They've got the houseboats. They're going to have boat slips for charging. And thank Kim Roundtree, who unfortunately is retiring this year. So I've been working with her for 17 years, and she's going to be leaving. And she's been a great asset out there and part of ours and helping us run the tournament. So I want to thank her. I want to thank Craig Miller, who lives in Las Vegas. I basically, with my schedule, I'm so busy all the time and going places all the time that I put it on task for a couple local Vegas guys that are, very invested in the US Open, and said, look, I need some help. I can't be in Vegas right now. I need somebody to talk to the hotels for me. I need somebody to rally the local city and some support for the event to come back there to get the tradition back at Lake Mead. And he took the reins for me and made some meetings and really helped me facilitate some of the things that have made this possible to go back to Lake Mead. So I want to thank him and some of the other guys out there that are helping me get Lake Mead back to, or the US Open back to Lake Mead.
That's the marina right there, isn't it?
That is the marina, yes. And that's close to what it looks like now, I believe. Yeah, because that's the lower launch ramp. No.
So then, no?
No. Well, yeah, that must be the lower launch ramp.
That's not over here. That's that launch ramp over here where I'm circling my mouse right there, where we put in at 8 years ago now. And
yep, the main launch ramp, the main launch ramp that they have at Mead or Colville hasn't been used in 10 years.
So that's this one over here on the far.
So the lower launch ramp.
Okay.
Yep, that's the lower launch ramp we'll be using. Yep.
Wow. That's unbelievable. You got to be pumped, though. You have to be excited to make that, like nervous and excited. But I mean, there had to be a moment where you're like, we can go safe, we can play it. But what was the deciding factor for you to pull the trigger and say, we're going to make some day changes where we're going to have to figure out some stuff at Boulder and Sunset. But you know what? Screw it. We're doing it.
Yeah, I think, it was we were a little nervous when we were talking about it within the company because there's a lot of things that you have to jump over to make things like this happen. But knowing that the water came up and that the launch ramps were more viable at this time, it really just made sense to bring it back there to also kind of snuff out that forward-facing sonar issue with Lake Mead because yes, forward-facing sonar is going to help some guys on Lake Mead, but it's not going to dominate on Lake Mead because you've got to find the fish at Lake Mead. It's such a vast body of water that you got to find them first before you can even scope them. And so, plus at that time of year with the water up, there's a lot of brush that's in the water. Shallow water fishing is going to be a viable opportunity there. So it gives people the opportunity to catch them the way they want to catch them, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And Lake Mead is the home of the U.S. Open, and with the opportunity we decided we had to give it a shot. And because of our partnership with Bass Pro Shops, it made sense to try and get it back there with their Las Vegas Bass Pro Shops involved to get them involved. And forward-facing issues, because there's a lot of guys that once we did make the announcement, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm 70 years old and I didn't think I'd be able to fish another U.S. Open, but Mead is where I excel and where my tradition is, and I know I can catch them there, so I'm back. I'm coming back. It's going to be my opportunity to get back out there to fish the great equalizer, and really put it out on the table."
Yeah, I think a lot of people need to also recognize, while the U.S. Open is an animal of itself, you guys did have a WONBASS Lake Mead Open last September there, correct? And that actually had some pretty good weights. So it's not like the place hasn't been fished for the past 4 years. Here it was here. That was my boy Julius Maisie. I believe he got the dub last year on Lake Mead.
2 years ago.
That was 2 years ago. Yeah, in 24. But then you also went out there in 25 as well, right?
Yeah, in September as well. So we had the fishing was great. They haven't had big tournaments like the U.S. Open at Lake Mead, but they do have team tournaments going on there. ABA has a good circuit going on out there, and you've got the nation guys that fish out there as well. So there are tournaments, just not as much pressure as what the U.S. Open would bring for a week. But the weights have been decent. The fishing's been pretty good, and if there's any indications when Julius won, I think there was an 8-pounder caught during that tournament.
Yeah, and he had to get 20-pound bag one time.
Joey Uribe caught an 8-pounder. So the fishing's got better with the less pressure. And we're looking forward to an exciting event coming up in October out there.
One of the unique things about the U.S. Open, if you're listening to this, we actually had GL Compton on yesterday on a special edition BTL. One of the things he was talking about was how there is still a viable path through the Bass Nation for co-anglers to fish. They still have co-anglers at the Bass Regionals. They have co-anglers at the National Championship. You actually have a co-angler who then they give a boat the final day. We've talked about this ad nauseum, and I know that we've had several BTL listeners who have signed up and fished WONBASS events, that pro triple A format where you fish all 3 days of the U.S. Open, and you're paired with a different pro. You're called a triple A, but your weights are combined each day. So if your pro catches 20 pounds, you've got 20 pounds. If you catch 20 pounds out of the back and you're pro zeros, you both still have 20 pounds. And that kind of really creates an interesting dynamic. I'm assuming nothing's changing in 26 for the U.S. Open here. You can sign up on the pro side. There's no qualifying structure to sign up for it. That's why it's called the U.S. Open. And then on the AAA side too, if you don't have a boat, you want to take your wife out to Vegas and then try to win what she loses on the water that week, and sign up as a AAA and fish with some of the best in the West for 3 days and have an experience. Same format, same thing, everything. If you're listening to this, you don't have a boat or you do have a boat, you can sign up on either side.
Yeah, WONBASS is the only shared weight format that I know of in the U.S. On the pro level, and we have been a shared weight format for many years. It's a great way to learn a lot on the co-angler side and get an opportunity to fish with people like Rick Clunn, John Murray, Chris South, Matt Becker, Sheffield, Josh Bertrand, Dean, all these
He started naming them. Now you're screwed. Cliff Birch, Brett Hyde,
it is
Nick Salvucci.
All 3 days. Yeah. B Height's coming back. Everybody's coming back. It's, but the shared weight format's a great situation. And our partnership with Bassmaster through the Bass Nation program has really worked well the last couple of years. We qualified 25 pros and 25 co's to go to last year's championship, and Kyle Grover on the pro side was in fourth place going into the final day and had an opportunity to be at this classic that just happened. And it was great to see the Western guys have an opportunity to make it through the nation, to go to that championship. I was actually there at the tournament and hanging out with Julius and both Dylan and Carter and all the young kids that were fishing nation, and saw the opportunity for Dylan, and to now watch him go to the classic and to win the classic really proved that the nation is a viable opportunity for the Western anglers to fish WONBASS events and qualify through Bass Nation to go to the championship. So we've got 25 pros and 25 who are going back to Hartwell this year to compete for a chance to go to the 2027 Classic. And then we're qualifying people again this year through all of our events to qualify for the following year's Bass Nation Championship. Actually, at the U.S. Open, the highest finishing pro and the highest finishing co-angler at the U.S. Open, who are Bass Nation members and qualify, will get a direct invite to the 2027 Bass Nation Championship.
And then have the chance to compete there and make the 28 Open Classic.
Yeah. Fish the U.S. Open and you get the highest finishing, you move from the U.S. Open to the Bass Nation Championship. And then if you get a top 3 at that, you're at the Classics. So 2 tournaments can get you to the Classic, which is unheard of.
Yeah, that's very cool. You can sign up at WONBASS, WONBASS events.com. I think, what is it? Is it a $1,600 entry fee, but you only have to have a $200 deposit on the pro side?
Yeah, because we have a 200 boat cap. It's built a little urgency for the pros to get signed up with the $200 deposit. We'll hold your spot. Also $200 on the AAA side for a deposit. It's $1,600 on the pro side for entry fee, $600 on the co-angler side with a $50 WONBASS membership, which also gets you a subscription to our location. But yeah, it's funny. I do get a lot of questions, especially from amateurs or AAAs, that say, how do I qualify to go to the U.S. Open? And I said,
sign up.
I look at them and I go, sign up.
It's the U.S. Open. I always say that when people say about the Bassmaster Opens, like, who should be allowed to fish the Bassmaster Opens? Like, I'm a guy who's like, anybody. It's literally called the Bassmaster Opens. Opens infers that as long as you pay it, it's the same thing with the U.S. Open, which I think adds a little bit of mystique to it too, because you don't see a lot of the top echelon guys, the legends that are fishing, open tournaments against it. But I mean, you'll have guys that have fished 30, opens on Lake Mead out of an aluminum boat against guys who have won Bassmaster Classics and MLF and Forest Wood Cups and all sorts of things. And then a mixture of all that. You've got the West Coast guys that compete in like the Clear Lake Opens and the Havasu Opens and those type of things. You got guys that come out east. You have guys that are doing it just for a one-time experience. It is by far, and I've been to a lot of tournaments from Florida to California to New York down to Texas, Billy. It is the most eclectic mix of bass fishing fanatics that I have ever been around in my entire life.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. You've got the average Joes, and then you've got the working class anglers that are working, working during the week and fishing on the weekends. And this is the West Coast opportunity for anybody who gets in early enough, has the boat, has the entry fee to get in and to fish against a Rick Clunt, a three-time U.S. Open champion, Clifford Perch, two-time U.S. Open champion, John Murray, Byron Velvick. We've got some great sticks out west, but the U.S. Open draws some big names, and just having the opportunity to be around those guys at the meetings and at the Hall of Fame and at the things that we've included in the U.S. Open, the Expo, and Mike Iaconelli came out a couple of years ago and stayed on the houseboats when we were, I think, our last U.S. Open at Lake Mead, and he talks to me all the time about that experience of just being down there with the guys, staying on the houseboats and waking up in the desert. And there's nothing quite like shooting the Narrows in the morning when the sun is rising on the opposite end of the Narrows. It's a surreal experience. I always call it, to guys who've never been out, come on out and fish on the moon. It's like literally fishing
It
on the
really
moon
is.
when you're
It really
the
is. It's
scenery,
wild.
the bighorn sheep, the coyotes, the uh, what I think it was Rick Clunn came out with his son River, and they were camping out on the lake, and they saved a burro that got stuck in the mud. I think his son River crawled out in the mud and saved a little burro that was stuck in some knee high mud. But I remember him telling me that story, and he took some pictures. It's a unique and lake. It's an amazing event, and it's got so much history that it really brings a lot of guys out west to compete. I spoke to Spencer Sheffield after we made the change, and I was a little concerned, because he's he's done so well at Lake Mojave, obviously winning it last year, but coming in the top three for the past couple of years.
Hmm.
And I said, "So did you hear the news?" "Oh yeah, yeah." I said, "You all right?" "Oh yeah, no problem." I mean, I really like smallmouth at Mojave, but I don't mind mead. I said, "Yeah, I figured you'd probably want to have two titles on two different lakes for the U.S. Open under your belt." He's like, "Oh, I'm shooting for it." So he'll be there. And I keep getting messages daily from people saying, "Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate you giving me an opportunity to get out at Mead one more time." Because, as I mentioned, as soon as we made the announcement, we started getting notes from people about the projected water levels over the next couple of years. And supposedly between now and 2027, the lake's going to drop another 34 feet. And who knows when we can get back out there. So the opportunity is now, and we took it. And we're glad we made that decision. We're looking forward to an amazing event out there. So if you're
All
out
right.
there and you want to fish the US Open, go to wombass.com, put in a $200 deposit. Make sure you create an account first on wombass.com. You register for our website because you can't purchase anything until you've registered for it. Put a deposit down, hold a spot, because those 200 spots, at least on the first side, are going to go pretty quick.
I'll be doing that after the show, Billy.
Awesome. Well, you've got that AAA trophy on the shelf over there. Why not come out for a pro one, right?
Has anyone won the
Let
AAA
alone,
and the Pro? Has anyone won AAA and Pro?
no. Ken Whalen has been trying for years. He won it on the AAA, and he's been fishing pro for a while. And he was hoping to become the first co-pro, but it's still open. Nobody's done it yet.
And it sounds like, based on what you said, I may just have like one shot in the next upcoming years at it, based on the projections of the water level.
Based on the projections of the water level, this might be our only shot for who knows how long, unless some drastic things change out west. Or, obviously, this winter has been a very light winter. There's no snow on the mountains all the way up to Wyoming. So there's not a lot of runoff or melt off that's going to come into the river to supply Lake Powell and Lake Powell's real low, so they're not going to let any water downstream to Lake Mead. And I've heard a lot of people talk to me about well, in the past when we had a real light winter, it usually means we're going to get a lot of monsoons later on in the year, which bring a lot of water. Well, hopefully that's the case because we need it. Lake Mead needs an insurgence of water to keep it open. That 34-foot water level drop that they're talking about could put Lake Mead at the brink because those pipes are only so deep that supply water to the city and power. You know, it's a concern, but with the water level up, it's time to go back, and we're going to make it happen.
All right, I can't let you go without talking about what is coming up next month on Clear Lake.
Right.
So
last
wait,
year we
let me.
gave
I
away
got it. Yeah, I got to
two-
set the scene here because I've got it pulled up. Last year, you guys are going back in April, right?
You're gonna wait. April is the time for Clear Lake. Yes.
Oh, okay. So last year, John Pearl went out and did 35:44, 31:87, and 35:50, and won a 3-day total weight of 102.81, and only won by a pound over Nathan Phillips. And then we see what Clear Lake's been doing this year and sets that tournament. I mean, dude, you're going to have like triple weigh-in bags, triple tanks. Like everybody's going to be bringing 5 bags up to the scales. This could be an absolute howitzer in the WONBASS Clear Lake Open coming up next month.
Well, even Skeet Reese is catching 40 pounds right now. So it's got to be good. No, Clear Lake is unreal right now. I mean, it's a good thing and a bad thing. I think John Pearl caught 49.8 last week, just prior to the classic, for
On 5
fish.
Oh my God.
5 fish. Okay. Now that's phenomenal. But to have a local tournament up there and to have 35 pounds and not get in the top 5, it's pretty crazy. So and right now they're not biting the minnow. They're biting just about every traditional bait they use. So a lot of swim baits right now. The fish are starting to transition to bedding, and I think Paul Bailey said he's to fish start that whole process. And Clear Lake's kind of unique. They'll start as early as April and spawn all the way through June, and sometimes even later they'll have 3 cycles of the spawn up there. So it's exciting to get back up there. I mean, we gave away 2 century belts for 3 days of fishing last year, and I have a feeling I'm going to have to maybe purchase 5 century belts this year. Be kind of crazy, but April 16, 17, and 18 is our Clear Lake Open coming up around the corner. We've got, I think, like 163 AAAs already signed up. The pros are signing up. We've got an early bird deadline of the 20th. If you sign up by the 20th, Clear Lake Outdoors is going to be giving away a free $1,000 pro entry to the 2027 Clear Lake Open. So if you're a pro out there thinking of fishing the Clear Lake Open, get up by midnight, March 20th, and you'll have a chance to win a free $1,000 pro entry for the 27 Bass Clear Lake Open. And G-Rat Baits at the Classic stepped it up. They're going to be giving away 7 of their swim baits to that lucky person who wins it as well. And it's going to be a tournament for the record books. It's going to be crazy. I'm going to have to go see Dave at DD26 and go pick up some more weightbacks for that tournament because there's going to be multiple guys walking up with 5 bags with 5 monsters. I mean, can you imagine a 49-pound bag? coming up with one fish in 5 separate bags.
I mean, so I can't imagine a 49-pound bag because I did it, but it was on Lake Bacharach in Mexico, and it was mind blowing. But in a tournament, no, I can't. I cannot even fathom like that first, like that last cull that you make when you're approaching a 50 rack. Like, I don't know how you can like cull a 7.5 and not like your mind not be like, I should not be letting this fish go. I should not be letting this fish go. I should not be like, I think my brain would short circuit in a tournament when you start getting up around those weights.
Well, let's see. Probably about we've been going to Clear Lake now for the Clear Lake for I think this is the 14th year now. And maybe 10 years ago, you had to have a 5 pound 5 fish limit at least 5 pound fish to even cut a check. And then there was some decline of the lake. There's some die-offs and some issues, and the fish got smaller. I think it went down to about 3.5 pound average at the weigh-ins, and then the last couple of years, I mean, if you didn't have 5 6 pounders in there, you better not even come to weigh-in. And now 5 pound average, forget about it. It's like a 7 pound average now. But
Yeah.
Clear Lake is healthy, it's good, and we all know that those situations don't last forever. So there's always up and down cycles for every lake out there. But Clear Lake is an amazing fishery. It's got so much uh, protein in that lake for those fish to grow to the size they're at. There's hitch, there's shad, there's bluegill, there's crappie, there's uh, silver sides. There's just so much bait in there for those fish to grow. And I think the die off that happened probably 4 or 5 years ago really helped the fish that are there get to the size that they're at because there's more uh, room for them to grow. And we're looking forward to it. It's going to be an amazing event. It's going to be broadcast live during the entire event. So the nation will watch in a crazy tournament. We'll probably have some new records broken, and I'm looking forward to it. I think that's 2 weeks away from me before I leave. We've got another trade show. There's a trade show before the Classic that I was at, the PCS Costa Mesa show, which is a big show. Then I went to the Classic. Now there's a Del Mar trade show. And then I've got a little bit of time, enough time to get the new Ranger wrapped by graphics out in Arizona, see my lithium battery sponsors, Stealth Batteries out there in Arizona, get the new boat rigged, and hopefully get it wrapped before Clear Lake and make our way out there and have a good time. Then we have Havasu coming up in May, which is a perfect time of year for Havasu. And then a little hiatus till the October U.S. Open. So lots going on here at WONBASS and Western Outdoor News, and we're excited for not only Clear Lake Havasu, but the big change at Lake Mead for this year's U.S. Open.
I don't know if you can say this or not. Is skeet fishing the Clear Lake Derby?
No.
Oh, come on, Billy.
I don't know. Well, he's been saying no, but now that he's catching bigs, and I think he got a 40-pound bag, he might change his plans because I think he had to be at a trade show or something. But he is doing, for all those listeners out there, the Skeet Reese Big Bass Battle in June, the 26th and 27th, and our staff Bass will be facilitating the weigh-ins for him and for that event. It's a big fish tournament. I think up to 400 people fishing Clear Lake. You can launch wherever you want, and it's going to be a great event. So if anybody's looking for an opportunity to come out to Clear Lake in June, which is a magical time because the Clear Lake Open originally started in June, and there were big weights caught, but there's also warm water, warm weather, and it's a lot harder to keep those 5 fish healthy in June. But a big bass event, Skeet Reese Battle, a Ranger boat being given away at Skeet's big bass battle. We're giving away a Ranger Z518 at the Clear Lake Open. The U.S. Open's a Ranger Z520R. So lots of great things, partnerships, I want to thank Ranger Boats, Mercury Motors, Bridgeford Foods, all of our great sponsors. I want to thank you for having me on. Really, all the fans and all the anglers at the Classic who really uh, make me feel good and great for coming out and representing the West Coast out there. It's nice to see all those people shake hands, talk stories, and share the excitement with so many people out there of the return to Lake Mead. So it was a great Classic. It was really cool seeing Dylan
Hmm.
just dominate that field and come through the nation and show that what we're doing as a organization partnership with Bass Nation is a viable opportunity. After 32 years to have a Bass Nation guy come all the way through and kick everybody's butt was pretty darn cool.
Yeah, especially being just a year younger than when Kirchhoff won it back in '95. I have one more question for you before I let you go.
Yep.
Speaking of Skeet, I'm sure you saw that he put the classic Canary boat up for sale as well as the F650. Was there any part of you like I don't know if he sold either of those or not, but yeah, I mean, Skeet, I mean, dude, there's such a loyal fan base that he has. Like for 120K, you could have the F650 Skeet Reese truck, black and yellow, with the Canary Classic winning boat, and just roll up to the launch ramp, ready to freaking. Was there any part of you that was like, yeah, I might just trade everything in and just get the F650 in the boat, and that's my new rig for the next 5 years?
Maybe this much because
I know,
as
dude. I
soon as you
think
get
every bass fishing fan had 1% that was like, that
yeah,
would be kind of
then you
cool.
start thinking about the other percent of where do I park that thing? Where do I get the money to put 450 gallons of gas in
Diesel.
the thing? Literally drive that from one side of the nation to the other side of the nation on a full tank. But you better have a lot of gold in your pocket to fill those gas tanks, especially out here in California right now.
Yeah, I saw
But
someone online
no,
offered him.
cool.
Someone online offered him silver for it on Instagram. Someone said, "Would you be willing to trade this for silver?"
Well, maybe even Bitcoin these days. Who knows,
Yeah.
But it's pretty iconic because when we were at the Sacramento ISE show, he was there and he had that truck parked out back, and everybody liked to go out there and look at that thing. Everybody's jaw drops when they see it. It's a big one, and yeah, I think he's selling his old Champion as well.
Yeah.
Getting rid of some of the stuff. Well, I guess he's got to pay for those two houses out at Clear Lake and one at uh, the other Lake of the Pines and all that stuff. So he's doing great. It's great to be involved with him in this big bass battle coming up. And he just caught his PB at Clear Lake, I think a 12.8 or something like that, a week and a half ago, and got 40 pounds just the other day with a couple nines and some tens. And I mean, I had an opportunity last year, and it was probably one of my funnest days of fishing ever. After Lake Mead or Lake Clear Lake had been beat up for essentially a week and a half, and the tournament had just ended. I got a chance to go out with my staff right after last year's Clear Lake Open, where John Pearl and Nathan broke that 100-pound deal and caught 37.8 in one day. I mean, after the lake had been beat up as much as it was, I was able to do that. It was pretty cool. It's special. It's pretty special.
How many crop? I mean, plus also the crappie out there are. I mean, Clear Lake became the new Lake Granada or Mississippi. Like everyone goes out there and catches piles of 3-pound crappie.
Oh yeah. I mean, when you're utilizing the forward-facing scope and you see a school of fish out there and you cast at them and get one to bite and it comes up and it's a 4-pound crappie, you're like, holy moly. I mean, they're big. Those slabs are big. I mean, David from Clear Lake Outdoors, I think, has the black crappie world record out of Clear Lake. He caught it a couple years ago, I think, and it's kind of like Havasu with the red ear. you hear about people traveling across the nation to come fish for crappie or come fish for red ear at Havasu. It's some great fishing out there, let alone all the catfish you catch at Clear Lake.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Same thing as like the cry.
A lot of
Everything's just
catfish. It's just fertile. I mean, last time I was there it is right there. Yep.
it's an absolute
That's crappie
freak.
out of Clear Lake.
That's a freak show. That is an absolute freak show. It looks totally AI Photoshop generated. I remember when that fish was caught. It is not. I mean, that's how big it was.
That's it. They got big crappie there and thousands of them. Thousands. Yeah. It's a phenomenal fishery. So we're fortunate. We got some great lakes here. Lake Shasta really showed out this year for the Shasta Open in February. Every single boater caught 5 fish every single day. So we've got some great lakes out here, and really happy to be going back to Mead for the U.S. Open. I appreciate you having me on the show. Again, if you're out there and you've always wanted to fish a U.S. Open, it's a 200 boat cap. Get a $200 deposit in as soon as possible before the event sells out, and I think it will. So don't hesitate. Get some reservations. Get set up. Actually, we'll have more information about the hotels on the website as soon as we get those reservation codes so people start making their plans. But it's going to be a great one. We're having you and your beautiful new wife out there fishing the U.S. Open and seeing some good friends and some faces we haven't seen in a while come back out to Lake Mead.
Thanks, Billy.
Thank you. You guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come on and talk about WONBASS and our great events.
All right. Good seeing you at the Classic. And yeah, I'll press you in October.
Buddy, sounds good.
All right.
Take
later.
care.
There you go, Billy Egan from WONBASS. It really is that cool tournament. I have no actual affiliation with it or anything. It's just there's certain experiences in the sport. If you love this sport, that I think you need to take time to do. One of is go to Springfield, Missouri, and go to the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame and the wonders of wildlife there and spend some time in that. One is experience a Bassmaster Classic. And, from the fishing side, one is the U.S. Open on Lake Mead. Those are kind of three things that if you're a fan of fishing on or off the water, that are kind of bucket list items. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about what we have going on for the rest of the week and into next week. Currently, right now, whether you're in California or Florida or the ice just came up north, you can compete in the BTL for St. Jude Fishing Chaos online tournament. We've already raised over $4,100 for St. Jude through this tournament. We're going to have some shows a little bit later on in the week with that with Tom Brubaker from Fishing Chaos. But I'll go through, remind everybody, it's a 45-day tournament. It started on March 1st and runs through April 15th. We'll go through those details. We'll also talk about what we have coming up with Frank and how if you weren't able to go to the Bassmaster Classic, how you can get your hands on some of the Signature Series Day 4s that we're giving away to the fans, the listeners, the viewers on BTL that were at the Bassmaster Classic. It is already a Wednesday morning on the 18th, and we will be back right after this.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
Before there were hashtags, there were handshakes and shared stories. They gave us confidence to make our first cast and chase our dreams. They taught us to fish, and in the process, taught us about life. They taught us that success isn't just about reaching the top. It's about lifting others up. The future isn't just about selling tackle. It's about 3 simple words. Let's go fishing. Here's to the original influencers.
When I'm in a tournament, conditions are constantly changing and every second matters. With the Deep Dive app, I can instantly pull up all the current lake conditions all in one spot. So no more looking at weird government websites. In just one quick glance, I have water clarity, water level, wave forecast. It's all right there in the Deep Dive app. Download the Deep Dive app and get all the tools you need to put together an awesome tournament.
I fish in some of the worst elements across the country. Spring,
That's a giant, dude.
summer,
Oh my gosh.
hi, look at that thing. Winter,
It's so cold.
and fall.
Got a big one. That's awesome. Being comfortable and staying dry is the only option.
AFCO, any fish, any water.
All right, welcome back. BTL on a Wednesday. Frank, back to our regular scheduled programming tomorrow. 8:30 a.m. We'll be talking about it. One of the things that I definitely want to bring to people's attention is the BTL benefiting St. Jude Fishing Chaos online tournament. If you're watching this, you can enter this tournament. It is $25 on fishingchaos.com. You can scroll over to the featured tournaments. I'll pull it up here in a second. And 100% of the proceeds go to benefit St. Jude to raise money for the upcoming, I think, 26th or 27th annual now Dick Hiley St. Jude Bass Classic in Wabasha, Minnesota, raised over $9 million. If you're at the Bassmaster Classic, you saw Gretchen and Katie from St. Jude. They've really done a great job of teaming up with Yamaha. They had the Skeeter booth there too. The fight cancer catch bass. I can't remember the name of their catch tag, and I wore the t-shirt there too. That's embarrassing. But a lot of Brandon Polinick talked a lot about St. Jude on the Bassmaster Classic stage. The fishing industry has really kind of embraced the St. Jude cause. Obviously, you guys know, Miles Berghoff, his daughter Riley, they were there for 8 months. Anyway, we're 4 years into the t-shirts to raising money for this tournament. Wanted to bring an event together. Started talking with Tom Brubaker, who I'm friends with, to kind of bring the BTL community together to where, in addition to buying a t-shirt, if you wanted to have something else, a lot of the BTL sponsors stepped up. And it started on March 1st and it runs through April 15th, but it's a 45-day tournament. Your 5 longest fish, it's split into regions. You download the app. It's super easy to do. We've got over 160 people that are currently fishing in it now. We have weekly Big Bass $25 gift code for AFCO as we're approaching. We got 2 weekly Big Bass winners that are already in it. Let me see if I can pull this up right here. So you get into Fishing Chaos. There it is right there. And then under the featured tournaments, you scroll over to the BTL St. Jude Nationwide Challenge. Now, if you signed up originally on March 1st, which is when the ticket sale or when the tournament started, you can catch 1 fish on March 1st, 2 fish on March 13th, other fish on April 13th. You can still sign up for this now. You didn't miss the deadline. It's 45 days. It's planned. It's like that for its open. First place, $250 cash in each segment plus a $500 prize pack. Second place, $300 prize pack. Third place in each region, a $200 prize pack. And here's the cool thing is you can see all of the standings for the weekly Big Bass, the Southern region, the Northern region, hotly contested. Howard Lyon winning now. Frank Mullins in second, 101.5 inches. And then you can click on like each one of each person. You can see that. Look at the freaking small. I was showing people this at the Classic. Frank Mullins smallmouth right there. Look at that thing is 22.25 inches long. It is an absolute freak show. All of his fish are like that. I've never seen smallmouth bass built like that. Anyway, you can go to Omnia Fishing, use capital BTL 10 if you need a bump board that goes longer than 18 inches, which you have to if you want to do that. Like I've got a 24-inch gator grip golden rule. But there's all sorts of rules, details, how you can submit, sign up for it. The goal is to hit $10,000. We're 18 days into this tournament, and we are already 40% of our way to the goal. If you fish any local tournaments, if you're just going to be on the water, if you're going on a fishing trip, you sign up for that region that you're in. It's public bodies of water only, artificial baits only. Fishing Chaos does a really good job of answering questions. It's intimidating at first if you haven't ever done it and you don't understand what length limits, like the length and all that stuff. It was just hard for me to comprehend, but it takes about, it was Love Bass Beat Cancer or Stop Cancer. Really encouraging any BTL listeners. It is a $25 donation directly to St. Jude. You can see exactly how much of it was from St. Jude, and the fact that there are BTL listeners and fishing fans around the country from Florida to California. I don't know how far up north they're getting with the frozen water yet, but fishing that have donated to this cause, that have got the bump boards, that are doing this on a daily basis. It makes me feel really proud to be a part of a community with the BTL listeners who are doing this. So if you're doing that, thank you very much for it. And even if, the Southern Division there, Dalton Albright, I'm not going to lie, 127 inches is a fairly strong for first place, but third place now in that 107 inches. That's very doable. That's very gettable. I mean, I fished one a couple months ago and had over 108 inches in Oklahoma, but all sorts of other stuff going on Fishing Chaos too. We're working on putting a show together on Friday with Tom Brubaker on Fishing Chaos. And if you have any questions on this, you can either email them. They do a great job of getting back. You can contact them through Fishing Chaos with your questions, logistics about the tournament. There's rules, there's the tournament dashboard, all sorts of stuff on that. Or you can even just direct message me on Instagram at Matt Pangrak. Email me, matt@basszone.com. And I can put you in touch if you have questions with it, if you want to know about bump boards, things like that. Like I said, if you do need to buy a bump board, capital BTL 10 at Omni, and they have a bunch of approved bump boards, which are actually in, the actual rules here. That's the why I partner with Fishing Chaos. They run so many tournaments. They have it. There's all sorts of registration, approved measuring devices, how you do it, the prize for each one. I mean, it's totally legit. So any questions on that, feel free to contact me. And then more on that Friday. But like I said, if you haven't started fishing, you're not out of it yet. There's still, it runs through April 15th. And even if you fish it and you get your butt kicked, hey, there's a $25 donation directly. That tournament entry fee, 100% of those proceeds went directly and do go directly to St. Jude at the end. I would love to be able to get on here on April 15th and say we did it. We raised $10,000 for St. Jude, and then have some of the winners and do an entire show on just stories of guys who were fishing in this event. And if you want to sign up for the Strike King one or for the Bill Dance one, I know Tyler's Real Fishing does some stuff on there, a lot of that. You can do multiple tournaments at once. You'll see a lot of guys with like their monikers or their IDs, they'll have like multiple. That means they're fishing multiple tournaments at once. Like if you're fishing a club tournament, you can even, where you're boxing it and weighing it in, you can measure that fish. You can submit it on Fishing Chaos, and you can go weigh it in your club tournament. So really, I mean, if you're fishing between now and April 15th, there's no reason that you shouldn't. You're helping a great cause. You have a chance to win some great prizes and be part of community. So if this is the first year that I've tried it, I was concerned about it. It just was so different for me. I'm like, oh, it's 14 inches. And I chuck it in the box, or 15 inches, whatever, tournament you're fishing. 12 now in Oklahoma, a lot of the places, and didn't really have that, I don't want to say kayak mentality, but you'd hear be like, oh, here's a 24-inch largemouth. And I'd be like, cool, I don't know what that means. But then once you start measuring them and things like that, you like kind of get a concept of how it works and things like that. Now, like basically anything over like 21, 22 inches is a really impressive largemouth bass, and then anything over 20 for a smallmouth is an absolute tank. But all right, that's all we got for today. I think I have the iTunes uploads that have been kind of stacking up, sometimes not coming out completely regularly after I upload. I think I have that issue figured out. So if you're listening to this on iTunes, it should be, immediately following that show before noon on the day that the show's out, that has it. And I guess we'll talk to everybody tomorrow, Thursday. It's hard to believe it's already been a week after we got MLF coming up with the pro circuit on Wheeler, where it like snowed a foot yesterday or 2 days ago when they first started practice there. And then heavyweight slugfest coming up on the BPT down in Texas, which I'm sure I'll do some shows, some OH Ivy. I think it'll be an OH Ivy, potentially catch a share lunker down there. And then the Elite Series heads to like the grinder portion of the season as they get into April. Arkansas River, a little bit of flipping, like two kind of grimy rivers back to back. So, all right, I will. Hopefully you will too. Talk to everybody tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Central Time live. Until then, thank you to Billy for getting up early and talking about WONBASS. See ya.